Welcome back, pro wrestling fans. Welcome back, IWC. It's me. It's me. It's the G.O.C. coming to you live today, 25 feet below the surface of the earth, here on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel for Chaos Corner. Another special, episodic YouTube adventure here with your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos. I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. Today, this date in pro wrestling history for April 11th. That's why you come here to Chaos Corner. Not only because of my 50 plus years as a fan, an agent, a historian, a scout, a researcher, a producer, whatever you want to call it, a smark, a mark. That's right, I said it, a mark. Let that marinate. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. And of course, my over 3 decades as a pro wrestling manager, from pillar to post and coast to coast, who came out 2 and 3 times a night on every show I was booked on, and took the fucking bumps. Remember that I took the bumps. Most of you people out there in IWC can't say that. And that's why you're here. One man, unique, unedited, unscripted, raw dog for you, the fans. Yeah, okay. I'm full of little piss and vinegar today. It's raining outside. We're headed into the weekend. I'm on my 2nd cup of Java. So yeah, I'm ready to go on it like you've never seen before. Here on this date, today in pro wrestling history. So sit back, relax, grab some lunch, grab another cup of coffee, grab a sandwich, a hero, a grinder, a hoagie, whatever it is that you call it. All right, fans, thanks for being here. Much love and respect. I can't thank you enough for being here. Drop an elbow and eye rake on that like button. Subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Isn't that what everybody says? Isn't that the usual rundown? Get us in the algorithm. Leave a comment. Say something. That's all I want to say. Coming up on 3,000 videos here on the channel. Go check out the playlists. It's unbelievable, including just about episode number 400 of Chaos Corner. And over 700 in-ring clips from classics to current day. Of course, go to my community page, and you'll see that I do live watch-alongs for the WWE and AEW in current day 2024, besides the historical perspective that you get here on this channel. See, when you come to this channel, not only are you getting an insider's view and someone who's still in the business and knows the ins and outs and been around since the 80s, let that sink in. And I know I say that every time. So every time I say let that sink in or let that marinate or put that pipe and smoke it, take your drink, whatever it is, from water to whiskey to beer to coffee, and take a sip. How about that? We'll make a game out of it. But you're here to learn things. So when you go out to the club or the pub or a tavern or a restaurant or a social gathering or the water cooler or at the gym or when you're playing gin rummy or you're at the live events, you can talk and have a relatable conversation and know what you're talking about because you listen to Chaos Corner. That's why we're here. Hold on a second. I'm really, really amped up today, and I'm loving it, and I'm feeling it. Let's get down to brass tacks. We're almost 5 minutes in here on my opening rant monologue. For as amped up as I am, a little down in the dumps in other ways, so a little prayers for the boy, a.k.a. my first son, Emilio. We have him in hospice care here at home, taking care of my Maine Coon, the savagery beast who is failing. And, I lost my oldest daughter in 2015, and my mother just a few months after that. Perhaps definitely the worst year of my life. To lose a child, to lose your parents, to be expected, doesn't make it any easier. But for a parent to lose a child, I went through that, and I would never wish that upon anyone. Don't get me wrong, I'm fortunate, I'm blessed, I'm thankful. It's been 9 years, it never gets any easier. You may look at it different or handle it different, but the heartache and the pain to lose a child is something that, again, unless you've gone through it, how could you possibly relate or experience to it? And this is why I bring up my daughter. And now with the boy failing, I've had him here for 9 years. He's probably 13 years old. In 9 years, if you know me personally, and this is the vulnerable side to me that I don't usually put out there and don't like to put on the channel because there's too many smarks and geeks and dweebs and goons and neckbeards and mouth breathers that are out there watching that try to troll and do bad things to good people. But I'm not the one. Let's get off that subject. If you know my background, I'm certainly not the one. So I want to get onto a more open up and vulnerable and emotional side to show you fans what I'm truly all about, besides being the guardian of chaos, Big Daddy. So to know that probably sometime very soon, in the next few days, the next week, that the boy will be passing away. When we rescued him, it was the same time that my daughter and my mom had passed away. He literally has become my best friend and helped save my life and get through the roughest times that I'll ever have in my life. Hard times. Real life hard times, not scripted or fake or fraud for entertainment. And I'm not here to talk about that either as we talk about this situation. It hits different. It's a heartbreaking, it's a different kind of hurt. I just lost my cousin a few weeks ago at 56 years old from cancer. And to see my aunt, who's in her 80s and still alive, to lose her son. Now we have something in common of losing a child. And as much as I love my cousin, still love my cousin, you know, my only male cousin that I was close to since I was a child, it all hits differently. And I know some of you, and a lot of you can relate to that, who've lost a parent or a close friend or a close family member or your best friend or, God forbid, a child. And even including cats and dogs and pets that have become domesticated, that become a spirit and a soul in your house. The unconditional love and companionship that you get from the spirit and the being of an animal. So it's on my mind. That's why I might be a little all over the place emotionally, although my usual chaotic self, I am the guardian of chaos. So I just wanted to mix a little emotion here and just tell you how the connection between my boy, my fur boy, Emilio, and the connection in my life over the last 9 years and what's currently going on. And that's why I'm here, not only for you guys and for the channel, it's what I love and my passion, but a much needed distraction in this world and in this life and the pain that we all go through. I'm not just here to talk about the state of the environment, the weather, the extremeness of it, things that we can't control, Mother Nature, that are out of our hand, like earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes and volcanoes and the eclipse and whatever rumors came along with that, and just the growth of our food. And then you talk about the wars that are going on around the world and our involvement and how corrupt, allegedly, well, I guess we can say our government, which it is, and all the politicians and what's going on with that, and the unbelievable amount of crime, and then the young people in this world, and the falling away from faith, and the invasion of our country. Something's about to happen. Something is about to happen, and I don't know if you can feel it or not feel it, or what rock you're living under, or you're just walking around oblivious. And I get staying away from certain things in the news and having a distraction. That's why I'm here. But that's how I'm feeling here today, live to tape. You guys get it. I'm live, but I'm taping it at the same time. So this was impromptu. This bled into what I wanted to talk about, because I just did 11 pages and an hour of notes for today's show on today, this date in pro wrestling history. But I just wanted to also relay to you the human side of what we all go through, and prayers for all of us and for this world and for humanity and even our enemies. But I pray for the boy, and hopefully he goes peacefully here at home. I really don't want to make that decision. And for all of us out here, before we go on to the entertainment and facts part of the show, stay mentally, emotionally, physically, and especially spiritually fit. Because if he's for us, no one else can be against us. And that's the only thing that'll get you through everything, from the death of a loved one, God forbid, a child, a pet, a family member, a close friend, or what's going on in the current status of the world, where we really have no control over the economy and taxes and the food chain and globalism and what's going to happen with a one world banking system. And I'm not here to talk about that, although 10 minutes in, It's what I'm still talking about. But this is the realism that you get from me when you show up here. It's not always about the show. So if I can give that message out, and thank you guys again. I've been saying it a lot, but I really appreciate you being here. Let's continue to grow this channel so we can all have some fun. So with that being said, 10 minutes in, I got a good 10 pages of historical notes and facts and things that I find that you'll find interesting. Thanks for hearing me out, guys. I appreciate letting me vent. Bing, bing, bing! Wow! We're back to the G.O.C. That's me. Again, here on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel. Chaos Corner. Here we go, fans. School is in session here on Chaos Corner. For today, this date in pro wrestling history for April 11th. And remember, in order to get respect, you have to start with respecting yourself. Once you do that, you open other people's minds to respecting you. Because there's three types of people in this world. Those who don't know what happened, those who wonder what happened, and people like the G.O.C., Big Daddy, that make things happen. April 11th, 1943, the late, great Harley Race is born. Fans, and I'll get onto some stats and statistics later on about Harley. But if you just saw Dark Side of the Ring episode, Dark Side on Vice, where they had the Harley Race episode this year, here in 2024, it really was an impressive story. What a crazy son of a bitch. What an unbelievable guy. You know my brief connection for months on end. I tried to get myself booked out to Missouri for a World Legion Wrestling. It wasn't World League. I believe it was World Legion Wrestling. I still have Harley's phone number around here somewhere in the vault at Chaos Chronicles, and used to call him weekly, bi-weekly for months and months, trying to get booked out there, and just being able to hear that voice on the other end of Harley Race and give me advice and tell me how to get out there. He ended up using one of my guys out there for his camp and on his shows, and that would be my old buddy under my tutelage, the Jackmaster, John Diamond. So the memories that I have with Harley Race, for however brief the encounters were for those months and those phone calls, are things that I'll never forget and that are the most valuable, most important things to me being in this business. Yeah, I didn't work for the WWE. Yeah, I didn't work for WCW or the NWA. But I certainly worked for everybody's brother, mother, uncle, sister's ass, and everybody's cousin in this business as a pro wrestling manager who got paid to travel around this country. Trans, airfare, my fee, my merch, hotels, cars, meals, as if I was the top star. And it's because of one thing: respect. What I did, how hard I worked, coming out 2 and 3 times a night, taking multiple big bumps, doing the interviews, the promos, selling tickets, hanging up flyers, sweeping floors, setting up and breaking down the ring, doing everything to learn this business, going on the road even when you weren't booked so you could learn, picking people's brains. That's what it was all about. That's why I was valuable. That's why I am one of a kind in the world of pro wrestling and will be till the day I die. That's not just my opinion. That's the word on the street. April 11th, 1945, Earl McCready defeats Dean Delton for the San Francisco Pacific Coast Heavyweight title in San Jose, California. April 11th, 1955, Ed Francis defeats Baron Michel Leone, or Baron Mikel Leone, whatever you want to say, tomato, tomato, potato, potato, I say it all the time, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to win the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title. Again, go back to yesterday's, this date in pro wrestling history and previous episodes of Chaos Corner and even on Chaos Clips. I talk about the importance of junior heavyweight titles, cruiserweights, light heavyweights, as opposed to one world heavyweight champion. That's just my opinion of breaking it down into weight classes, since you have so many titles as it is anyway. Do it like boxing did back in the heyday, or the UFC currently does it. Can we have weight divisions? I mean, I don't know. Is that a bad idea? Am I wrong? There's no right or wrong answer. It's what you prefer. Leave a comment, say something, and drop a note. April 11th, 1957, Don Curtis and Dizzy Davis defeat the Great Bolo and Kurt Von Poppenheim for the Amarillo NWA North American Tag Team titles in Amarillo, Texas. April 11th, 1956, George Gordienko defeats Lou Newman to win the Calgary NWA Canadian heavyweight title in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. April 11th, 1963, Buddy Rogers, the Nature Boy, is officially presented the Worldwide Wrestling Federation World Heavyweight title belt in Washington, D.C. Here's the caveat, if you know your history. After his having won a fictitious tournament, kayfabe, working even back then in the 60s, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Rogers had been billed as a world champion since the Northeast office of the NWA, headed by Vince McMahon Sr. and Toots Mondt. What's Toots' real name? Toots Mondt, the legendary promoter. Anyone? Toots Mondt, real name? Don't go Google it. Use DuckDuckGo. Bueller. I get most of you guys weren't even born yet, but it was Joseph Toots Mondt, along with Vince McMahon Sr. They left the NWA and became the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. Up until May, Buddy Rogers was the champion, the recognized champion, after this fictitious tournament in Rio de Janeiro, before losing it in under a minute to Bruno Sammartino, who would become the standard bearer of the company. Let that sink in from 1963, when Buddy Rogers was the World Heavyweight Champion. Reported. No internet back then, no rags, no dirt sheets, no podcasts, no message boards. Not much long, after the advent of TV. Fictitious tournament for Buddy Rogers. Again, it was part of the NWA. He was billed as the world champion because the Northeast at that time, before it became the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, was a part of the NWA. So it was Vince McMahon Sr. and Toots Mondt that left the NWA, formed the Worldwide Wrestling Federation in '63, and there was your champion beating Rogers in under a minute, the legendary Bruno Sammartino. Does it get better than that? And this is why you're here, because of what you learn. Facts. Not opinions, not viewpoints, not takes, hot takes, not what you read somewhere else. Actual historical facts that have been proven. I want you to think about that when you come here to Chaos Corner. Why you come here as a subscriber, or why you're not a subscriber yet or become a channel member. What is it, $2 or $3? I don't even know, man. I didn't set up the channel. Over 3,000 videos. Remember that. Who works harder on their show than I do? I don't have the graphics, the edit button, the sounds, the entrances, the green screen, all that, the updated equipment. I get it, man. I don't go live on StreamYard. I do it the hard, old-fashioned, earned way. That's just me, because there's no right or wrong way. This is how I choose to do it on my channel. I like the work. I like the effort. Not that anyone else out there doesn't work hard. We all do it in our own way. Raw dog for you. In all my splendor, in all my glory, mistakes or not. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Reality. April 11th, 1967. Frank and Jack Dalton defeat Danny Littlebeer and Bobby Fields to win the Gulf Coast NWA United States Tag Team titles in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, beginning the Daltons' fourth reign. April 11th, 1967, Enrique and Ramon Torres defeat Gene and Lars Anderson for the Georgia NWA Mid-Southern Tag Team titles in Savannah, Georgia. April 11th, 1969. In Austin, Texas, on this date, Dustin Runnels, a.k.a. Dustin Rhodes, a.k.a. Gold Dust, was born today. And how about that, back in 69? Dustin is still competing as he did last night in AEW Dynamite for the AEW World Championship against Samoa Joe. Now, of course, Dustin was busted open. That's for damn sure. But in his 50s, he could still get in there and move. That's why they call him the Natural and still call him the Natural Dustin Rhodes, and why he can still compete today. And to think, a few nights earlier, his younger brother, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, finished his own story, which is Into a New Beginning, by defeating the head of the table, the tribal chief who held the WWE belt for the last 4 years. I don't know, with less than 40 title defenses, and what a disgrace that is. I'm just saying, man. And that would be one Roman Reigns. So happy birthday, Dustin. Much love and respect. I certainly admire and respect you. Now, how about that? Let's stay in 1969, April 11th. Alfonso Dantes and Mil Mascaras defeat the Black Angels for the NWA America's Tag Team titles in Los Angeles, California. Let's stay in 69 here in the time machine. April 11th, 1969, Raul Mata defeats Dr. Wagner to win the vacant Mexican light heavyweight title. April 11th, 1970, Dale Lewis defeats Bob Orton for the Florida NWA Southern Heavyweight title in Jacksonville, Florida. 1972, April 11th, Nutley, New Jersey. You've got big balls. He's got big balls. We've got big balls, but who's got the biggest balls of them all? Happy birthday to the late, great Balls Mahoney. Balls Mahoney, you knew what I was talking about. Born today on this date, April 11th in 1972, the hardcore legend from ECW, and he was in WWE, WCW. I had a chance to work with him in a 10-man barbed wire tag team match, along with the likes of 187 Homicide, Jason fucking Knight, Ron Zabi, third-generation grappler Rocket Fred Curry, Nick Richards, the hippie freak, Purdy Kurt Adonis, Bull Dread, Lowlife Louis Ramos. What an unbelievable bloodbath that was that night with Balls Mahoney. Rest in peace, Balls. April 11th, 1973. Oh, by the way, that video's here on the network. The 10-man barbed wire match. April 11th, 1973. Don and Ron Wright, say that 3 times fast, defeat the Fabulous Kangaroos, Al Costello and Don Kent, to win the Mid-America NWA World Tag Team titles in Knoxville, Tennessee, ending the Kangaroos' second run. One of the greatest tag teams of all time, perhaps. Right? The Kangaroos, Costello and Kent, I would say they're in the top 10, maybe. That'd be quite a list. April 11th, 1976, Dr. Wagner defeats Alfonso Dantes for the Mexican National Light Heavyweight title in Guadalajara, Mexico. April 11th, 1977, Jerry the King Lawler defeats the Soul Man Rocky Johnson to win the Mid-America NWA Southern Heavyweight title in Memphis, Tennessee, beginning Lawler's 9th reign. They didn't call him the King of Memphis for nothing. April 11th, 1979, Piro Aguayo defeats Gran Hamada for the UWA World Junior Light Heavyweight title in Mexico City. April 11th, 1981, Jay Youngblood wins his 3rd NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight title, ending Buddy Rose's 4th reign. November 11th, 1982, Sangre Chicana defeats Atsushi Onita for the NWA International Junior Heavyweight title in Guadalajara, Mexico. Let's stay in 1982, April 11th. Bruce Reed, I almost said weed. Bruce Reed, I know where your minds are going out there, because it's legal, I get it. Bruce Reed, I understand, I get it. And Sweet Brown Sugar defeat Dory Funk Jr. and David Von Erich to win the Florida NWA North American Tag Team titles in Orlando, Florida. Let's move on here in the time machine. Actually, let's stay in 1982. April 11th, 1982, King Kong Bundy and Bugsy McGraw defeat Kerry Von Erich and Alberto Madril for the World Class Championship Tag Team titles. April 11th, 1985, Bruiser Brody jumps from All Japan to New Japan. Historical moment over there in Japan, especially for pro wrestling. Konnichiwa, bitches. Origato from the Chaos-san. Let me say this again. Bruiser Brody jumps, leaves, departs All Japan Pro Wrestling and Giant Baba for Antonio Inoki's New Japan Pro Wrestling on this date in 1985. Talk about history. That's history. We move on here in the time machine. We're only 25 minutes in. You guys aren't going anywhere. April 11th, 1987. Tua Selinga defeats Strong Machine number 1 to win the NWA Polynesian Pacific Heavyweight title in Honolulu, Hawaii, beginning Selinga's 4th reign. Now, Selinga was the final champion. The title was abandoned in 1988 when the NWA Polynesian Wrestling Company closed. Pehaoi Melihini Kane, Pupule Wiki Wiki. Aloha and mahalo. For all my friends over there in the islands, all my brothers. April 11th, 1982, Doug Masters and Ron Starr defeat El Bronco and Cyclone Salvadorino for the Worldwide Wrestling Council, the WWC World Tag Team titles, and Caguas, Puerto Rico. I'm kidding, man. They nada. Kayfabe, lighten up. I didn't. What I say? Google it, translate it. It's okay, man. Don't be so offended. You know I speak 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 languages. You guys know that, right? April 11th, 1995, the NWA held an 8-man tag team tournament to crown the new World Tag Team Champions at the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas. During Jim Crockett Promotion Jr.'s Jim Crockett Jr., his short-term tenure as promoter for NWA Dallas. How many of you knew that? Aha. The title had been vacant for about, almost 2 years, 19 months, since Arn Anderson and Pretty Paul Roma were stripped when WCW left the NWA, hence being stripped of the titles, Anderson and Roma. Now, how about that for useless, priceless, classical, historic tidbits of information that you learn here on Chaos Corner? And here's the tournament, here's the breakdown, here's the results. 1995, the NWA 8-man tag team tournament, after Roma and Anderson were stripped because WCW left the NWA. We know what happened early on in WCW. It was the shits. Okay, they came back during the Monday Night Wars. I get it. Here we go. First round matchups. Chavo and Hector Guerrero defeat Black Bart and the Scorpion. Al Perez and Greg the Hammer Valentine defeat Killer Tim Brooks and Hercules. Dick Murdoch and Randy Rhodes defeat Sam Houston and the Masked Marvel. On to the semifinals. Dick Murdoch and Randy Rhodes defeat Greg Valentine and Al Perez. Also, the Rock and Roll Express defeat Hector and Chavo Guerrero. You know who the Rock and Rollers are, right? Gibson and Morton. I don't have to say that much, do I? In the finals, it was the Rock and Roll Express over Dick Murdoch and Randy Rhodes for the vacant NWA title, beginning their tag team titles, beginning their 5th reign for the Rock and Rollers. Now, if I remember correctly, here's the caveat, here's the information, put it in your pipe and smoke it. The other 4 titles, before they won their 5th tag team title, were undisputed Mid-Atlantic and WCW tag team titles. So when they won this 5th title here in the tournament for the NWA, it was considered the first, let me correct this, the first undisputed NWA World Tag Team Champions. Now, the NWA controlled the version of the title. So there's the caveat. There's the history. There's the facts. The 5 times at this point here, and remember where you are, the timeline, 1995. 5-time champions, the Rock and Roll Express. But the first 4, as I said, I'm repeating here. I'm trying to let it sink in. Make it relatable. Layman's terms. It was for Mid-Atlantic and WCW. So in 95, after they defeated Murdoch and Randy Rhodes, they were considered the first undisputed NWA World Tag Team Champions. Let that sink in. We move on here on Chaos Corner in the Time Machine. Thanks for being here. April 11th, 1997, Big Van Vader is detained in Kuwait after he attacks boss man Al Atham, host of Good Morning Kuwait. I didn't know there was a show called Good Morning Kuwait. I mean, I know there's Good Morning America. Can I be a guest? Do you think I can get on Good Morning Kuwait? Oh, I don't know. Apparently, Vader took offense to the host's questions and kind of slapped around the guy over there in Kuwait. 1997. Vader was a beast. April 11th, 1998. The James Gang, Hoss and Ricky, are awarded the Southern Michigan Championship Wrestling Tag Team titles in Michigan Center, Michigan, after defeating Otis Apollo and Bobby Clancy, who had vacated it. So you didn't really defeat them. There was a vacated title. Now, Southern Michigan Championship Wrestling was renamed NWA Michigan. Again, long after the original NWA into Jim Crockett Promotions and WCW, the oldest federation promotion in the world, the NWA, which started in the 40s, I believe, still had many, many NWA territories and held on to the NWA territories all over this country. I worked for several of them myself. So it really was still a territorial system. People think the territories went away in the mid to later 80s, a little bit into the early 90s, but the independent scene and the original body of pro wrestling, NWA, kept territories all over the country, and the territories were still alive. And in today's independent scene, if you look around the greater New England tri-state Northeast area and around the country, it's basically back to the territory days now, as companies are running weekly in the same towns. So for as much as they're gone by the wayside, the territory system is still here, just much different with the athletes and what they do and their attitudes and respect and history. I don't want to get into that because then I'll go into the whole rear view mirror and front windshield comparison. Remember, it's always great to have that rear view mirror. You don't get stuck back there. You don't stay back there. But you look back there and remember it. You see where you're going. You see where you are. You see what's behind you. Those who paved the way. Respect, honor, tradition. Because without that rear view mirror, you will not get to where you are or to where you're going looking through that front windshield. Don't be old and bitter. Remember it. Fondly. That'll get you to where you're going. And then it's full speed ahead looking in that huge windshield. Step on that gas, because I can't drive 55. And in 2024, you can't even drive 85. You'll get run off the road if you drive that slow. Sorry about that. April 11th, 1999. WCW Spring Stampede before 17,000 at the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington. Here's the results. Here's the breakdown. Sit back and relax. Here's the card. Juventud Guerrera pins Blitzkrieg with a top rope driver. Bam Bam Bigelow pins Hawk in a hardcore match with a driver through a table. Scotty Riggs pins Mikey Whipwreck with a simple clothesline. Conan defeats the Disco Inferno. WCW Cruiserweight Champion, the 619 Rey Mysterio, pins Billy Kidman with a top rope Hurricane Rana to retain the title. Did I say Kidman? I meant Kidman. You know what I'm talking about. You know what Bully Ray said to me back in 06, 07. When I was managing the Outcast Killers, Oman Tortuga, Diablo Santiago, we were going for the NWA World Tag Team titles in a series of tables matches against Bully Ray and Devon, Team 3D. Yeah, I took the what's up from Bully and Devon and a couple other maneuvers. I don't want to say it. But we weren't victorious, but I'll never forget it. Bully Ray, Busted Open Radio co-host, host of Busted Open After Dark every Wednesday nights. Masters Class. He's a 2-time Hall of Famer, perhaps one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Bully said to me in the back, bub if you will, Give the Guardian of Chaos Big Daddy 5 spots, he said, and you'll fuck up 4 of them. I consider that to be a compliment coming from a Hall of Famer like Bully Ray. My brother from another mother. I've been to Dudleyville. What? Lighten up, man. Also, on that same card, 1999 WCW Spring Stampede, as I said, Tacoma, Washington. We already talked about the WCW Cruiserweight Champion Rey Mysterio pinning Billy Kidman, where I said Killman. That's where the fuck up came in. Pardon my language. Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko with Arn Anderson defeat Raven and Saturn when Malenko pins Raven after Benoit's diving headbutt. Scott Steiner pins Booker T using a foreign object to win the vacant WCW United States title. Goldberg pins Kevin Nash, who's with Lex Luger and Elizabeth, after a jackhammer. No, he didn't jackhammer Elizabeth Goldberg. Oh, he might have. I don't know. I don't want to get into that. Goldberg jackhammered Kevin Nash for the win. DDP, bang! It's quite the man, DDP. His episode on A&E Biography was tremendous in what he's done for other people. What an up-spirited, outstanding story that DDP has of never giving up. You fall down 10 times, you get up 11. That's the message from DDP. I got to respect that. DDP defeats heavyweight champion Ric Flair, the Stinger, and Hulk Hogan in a fatal 4-way by pinning Flair after he hit the Diamond Cutter, ending Flair's 6th reign. What a story by Tommy Dallas Page. To be in his 30s, come back as a manager, do everything that he did, bar owner, bar manager, DDP yoga. I mean, it really is something. The Macho Man, Randy Savage, was the special guest referee. So in 1999, not for the WWF, WCW not only had Goldberg and Kevin Nash and Scotty Steiner and Booker T and Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio. They had Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and Stinger, and Macho Man, and DDP. I'm not saying it was their best era, but talk about talent. Let's fast forward here in the time machine on Chaos Corner. We're 35 minutes in. I'm glad you guys are here. I don't want to have any spittle on my face while I'm talking to you. April 11th, 1999, Tiger Mask defeats Jason Cross and London England for the vacant British Commonwealth Heavyweight Junior Heavyweight title. I refer back to the Bully Ray comment. Rewind and go back to what Bully Ray said to me. April 11th, 2000, turn of the century. Seems like a long time ago, 24 years ago. Because over the last 2 decades, this country and this world has really gone to the shiznit. Wouldn't you say? A lot of things going out there. When you talk about things and people say, oh, it's a conspiracy, it's terrorism, but 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 come true. Is it still a conspiracy? I don't know. I don't like to use all these words here on the Fluff Tube because who knows what they copyright and block. There's all kinds of different things. And then you go to other channels. I mean, there's a lot of favoritism going on here on the tube. I'm just happy to be here. But I will put out my message. So we're in 2000, April 11th, 2000, SmackDown at the Ice Palace in Tampa, Florida, on UPN at this point. They've been on everything from TNN to USA to Fox to Sci-Fi, I don't know, to UPN. 4.7 rating. Let that sink in. Go do your research. First was a Heat taping, WWE Heat. You guys remember Heat and Metal and Jacked and Superstars, all the secondary TV shows they had for the WWF. WWF Light Heavyweight Champion Dean Malenko pins Scotty 2 Hotty with a roll-up, holding the tights to retain. Devon Dudley with Bubba Ray fought Test with Albert and Trish to a double disqualification. Taka Michinoku with Funaki pins Esa Rios with Lita after the Michinoku driver. The Godfather and all his hoes. And the big Val Boski, Val Venus. I bet you there was a lot going on after that match. Fought to a no contest after both men left the ring to attack Kurt Angle, who mocked both of them from ringside. So I'll say that to say this. World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental Champion Chris Benoit pinned Hardcore Holly with a German suplex into a bridge to retain the title. Now here was the SmackDown tapings that night. 2000. SmackDown. Tampa, Florida. Remember the time frame here. As we go forward to go back and back to go forward, here in the time machine on Chaos Corner, on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel. Rikishi defeats European champion Eddie Guerrero with China by disqualification. The Hardy Boys defeat Intercontinental Champion Chris Benoit and WWF Light Heavyweight Champion Dean Malenko. Perry Saturn defeats Hardcore Champion Crash Holly to win the title, ending Crash Holly's, obviously he won the title, ending Crash's fourth reign. And let's follow the sequence here. Taz pins Saturn to win the Hardcore title for Taz's third reign. Crash then pins Taz to win the Hardcore title to start his fifth reign. You remember the madness of the Hardcore title, the 24/7 title. You guys remember, right? What a debacle that was. I mean, it was entertaining in certain ways. World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions Edge and Christian defeat Angle and the Big Show by countout after the Big Show attacked Kurt Angle on the floor. Kurt Angle's all over. He's busier than a blow out a frat party when he first came in. Angle, was there anybody that did a better transition from another sport to the sport and the entertainment part of pro wrestling than Kurt Angle? I was talking about it yesterday when I said Logan Paul is on that list. That's the top tier list of guys that stayed with it technically. In other words, not like a Bad Bunny, a Pat McAfee who did okay in their own right, David Arquette, whatever you want to say, Andy Kaufman, who came in and did it here and there and whatever it was, and even performed well, whether it be Bunny or McAfee, but nobody has made and stayed the transition a la like a Kurt Angle and now today's Logan Paul. I'm just telling it like it is, man. How about that? 24 years ago, Edge and Christian as the tag team champions, and here it is in 2024, and they're involved in a bitter feud 20 plus years later in AEW. We roll on here on Chaos Corner, this date today, pro wrestling history, as we continue in Tampa with the SmackDown viewership from 2000. The Dudleys, Bubba Ray and Devon, pin Albert with Test and Trish. Actually, it was Bubba in a singles match with Devon in his corner against Prince Albert, if you remember Albert, with Test and Trish in his corner. The Cat and Mae Young defeat the Fabulous Moolah and Terry Runnels, or Terry, when Mae pinned Moolah after an elbow drop. Now, you know my history and stories. I don't know how long ago it was. It might have been right around this time, 20 plus years ago, where I went out to dinner, not once, but twice on a couple of different events, a long shot weekend, with Moolah and Mae Young. Well, how about that? And my youngest daughter was with us, and we had dinner, and a bunch of the other stars and talent. They were pretty entertaining and very nice ladies to yours truly and my family. I'll never forget that, Moolah and Mae Young. Rest in peace and for giving us your time. Moolah even tried to get my, I think she was 12-year-old daughter to maybe think about coming down to the wrestling school there. We know the controversy there. I'm glad I made the right decision. I'm just saying it's alleged. They were nice to me, man. They were nice to my daughter. I'm just saying. Talk about experiences in life. That's why you come here, to hear these stories besides the facts. And if you're not here for that, I don't know what the fuck you're doing here. Pardon my language. The Road Dogg and X-Pac with Tori defeat Chris Jericho in a handicap match when the dog got the pin after X-Pac hit the X Factor. Say that 3 times fast. Big Boss Man, Bull Buchanan, and World Wrestling Federation Champion Triple H with Stephanie and Shane O'Mac fought APA, a.k.a. Bradshaw and Farouk Simmons, and The Rock, that's right, Dwayne Johnson, to a no contest. Remember the time frame here. 24 years ago, Rock gave the rock bottom to Shane through the announce table as everyone brawled outside the ring. April 11th, 2001, All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown Champion Genrucho Tenryu defeats Taiyo Kia, I think I said that right, and Tokyo, Japan to win the annual Champions Carnival Tournament. Tenryu was a legit badass. Konnichiwa. April 11th, 2002, Brickhouse Brown and Brother Love defeat Porkchop Cash and John Saxon at Cleveland, Mississippi to win the NWA Southern Tag Team titles. Bear with me, we're not done yet. This is quality content. That's why I work harder than anybody out there right now. April 11th, 2003, Ohio Valley Wrestling, aka OVW, Spring Breakout in Louisville, Kentucky. Here's the card, here's the results, here's the lineup. Chris Cage and Mark Jindrak defeat Orlando Jordan and Mark Madness when Jindrak pins Jordan. Nikita pins Passion. Nova goes over on Chris Nowitzki. OVW Southern Tag Team Champions, the APA, aka Bradshaw and Simmons, damn, defeat Lance Cade and Rene Dupree as Bradshaw pins Dupree. WWE Tag Team Champion, or at least one half, Kane pins the Blueprint 7-footer Matt Morgan. You remember Matt Morgan? What a talent. Chris Benoit, Nick Dinsmore, and Johnny Jeter defeat Rob Conway, the Damaja, and OVW champion Doug Basham in a 30-minute iron match, 2-on-1. Or two falls to one. Conway pinned Dinsmore, Benoit pinned the Damaja, or he made him submit, and Jeter pinned Basham. OVW was quite the alternative for independent pro wrestling back in the day. What a training ground it was. Whether you go back to Florida Championship Wrestling, Smoky Mountain, OVW, different areas that were like the NXTs or the performance centers or the power plants long before, where you would go and have people train and get ready in front of live crowds, whether and on local cable TV, whether it's in front of 5 people, 50 people, or 5,000. You're getting exposure, you're getting reps. That's how you learn the business. You do your promos, you wrestle in front of a live crowd. That's how you learn. That's why all those organizations are so pertinent to the big time and the big time grapplers and their history and where you come from and where you train. Get yourself to a credible facility, a credible dojo, a credible training place with guys that worked in this business. That not only is it a training facility where you're forking down your $2,500 or $3,500 to get in there for the training, or some as much as $5,000, whatever the price may be in this day and age. But they also do promos, have scouts come in, have more than just one trainer, and it leads into you making your debut in front of live crowds and doing live shows and being on social media. That's what it's all about. That's how you sharpen up your skills and make it into this fucking business and go up to the top. And that's why people like Richard Holliday, that's right, do your research, Richard Holliday, Dustin Flash Waller, Kylon King, Brad Baylor, the list goes on and on. They're Roma trained and Mancini brained. That's what you get at my home company at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. In the shadows of Titan Towers. Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling on all social media platforms. Training facility. Building character and morals in life for young people. Learning how to do promos. Setting up and breaking down the ring. Respect. Training 3 and 4 nights a week. Performing in front of live crowds and on cable access shows and cable TV. To get that feeling. Monthly shows. That's what you get included in your training. And you'll have a home forever at Paradise Alley. With the Paradise 4. And you know who they are, and I'll say it again. Pretty Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Paul Perez, and Big Steve Tracy, a.k.a. Dave Paradise. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't have to run down the kudos here. Let's get back, let's focus. This day today in pro wrestling history. April 11th, 2007. The Big Show at the time, not under WWE contract, was announced as replacing Jerry the King Lawler in a bout against Hulk Hogan, promoted by Corey Macklin's Memphis Wrestling at the FedEx Forum. Here's the caveat. Lawler pulled out of the date due to pressure from the WWE, which led to a lawsuit filed by Macklin. Obviously, like with everything else when Vince was in charge, it was settled out of court. How about that for things you may not have known? This day in history, 2007. April 11th, 2010. The Big Show aforementioned, the Bellas, Bria Nikki, and R-Truth appear on an episode of ABC's Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Do you see what pro wrestling leads into? Movies, commercials, gigs, sponsors. Does it get any better than that? Including the old timers and the legends and heroes today who do conventions and appearances and Q&As. You could be in this business forever and for life and longevity and give back to the fans who gave back to you. Because without you, there'd be none of us. April 11th, 2010. Texas Stadium was imploded. Let me say it again. April 11th, 2010. Texas Stadium was imploded. While famous as the home of the Dallas Cowboys, the stadium also hosted world-class championship wrestling's Parade of Champions in their events, including Kerry Von Erich's 1984 NWA World Championship win over the Nature Boy Ric Flair. With the destruction of the stadium, all of the major Dallas arenas that WCCW called home had been destroyed. Texas Stadium, the Sportatorium, the Reunion Arena, and I know I'm missing others. Let that sink in for history on this date in 2010. April 11th, 2011. Reigning, and this is an interesting story, so listen up. Pay attention when it comes to injuries and coming back and doctors and the medical profession and the almighty dollar. Remember this. April 11th, 2011. Reigning WWE World Champion Edge, Adam Copeland, announced on Raw that due to medical tests showing that the severity of his neck problems have gotten worse, so bad that he would be risking paralysis and death to continue performing as a pro wrestler. WWE would no longer clear him to wrestle. Edge Adam Copeland vacated the world title and would be inducted into the World Wrestling Entertainment Hall of Fame in March of 2012. Hold on to that thought. Let's update and go to current 2024. And we'll even go back to a little earlier than that, since this was announced in April of 2011. Hall of Fame in March of 2012. I believe it was 9 years later in 2020, right? Right before the pandemic, scamdemic, whatever you want to call it. Edge came back and got a 3-year, $15 million contract, $5 million a year in a sport that's predetermined. No, you can't take away the physicality. It's legit. That's why he left to begin with. Just like with Bryan Danielson, I'll talk about him too. Never to wrestle again, never to come back again, to only come back and sign a contract for millions and millions. Not hating, not being jealous, just stating the facts. The facts don't always tell the story, but they don't lie either. Nice to come back and get that 3-year contract for $15 million. Leave there, and in end of 2023 and 2024 now, signing a multi-year deal and contract with current AEW. So made all that money, not begrudging, well-earned, well-respected. I admire his work. Just the thoughts on the medical profession, the almighty dollar, whether it be someone like Adam Edge Copeland or Bryan Danielson, and there's many other examples as well. It's a lot of money. 1 minute you're declared paralysis near death. Not too long later, you're coming back and signing multi-year extensions and contracts for millions of dollars. Boy, has the business changed. To give you a little update on this date in pro wrestling history. Let's stay in 2011, April 11th. Alex Wybrow, a.k.a. Larry Sweeney, was found dead after taking his own life in Lake Charles, Louisiana, where he was living as well as training and still wrestling independently. Now Sweeney, known as Sweet and Sour Sweeney at one time, worked for Ring of Honor. He worked for several NWA territories, Action Zone in Hawaii, IWC in Pittsburgh. He was very close to talent such as Chris Hero and Mike Quackenbush. But on this date, April 11th, 2011, Larry Sweeney, Sweet and Sour Incorporated, took his own life. Let's roll on here at Chaos Corner. 55 minutes. We're hoping to keep this as an hour. I had a lot of information to get out. I had my opening piss and vinegar rant that I really wanted to put out to you guys. And then, of course, heartfelt stories of truth and reality of what's going on in all of our lives, including mine. None of us are exempt. April 11th, 2012. We go on with the Jim Cornette and Vince Russo wars, this time not including Eric Bischoff. Jim Cornette issues the following statement in regards to Vince Russo's interview on Kayfabe Commentaries. Now, if you don't follow Kayfabe Commentaries on YouTube, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. And again, I apologize for cussing. I don't have to. I don't want to. It just happens sometimes. I apologize for it. Kayfabe Commentaries has some of the best shoot interviews. And go out and Google or DuckDuckGo or find out the definition of shoot in this business before you think you know what you're talking about. To quote Cornette, I've worked with kayfabe commentaries in the past and have been treated well and enjoyed my experiences with them. However, this trailer was shot without my knowledge. They contacted me and my response was absolutely no. Would I ever give anything to shit stain, so on and so forth. You know how he feels about him. You know the long history. Corny goes on to basically say that there isn't enough money. Don't book this cretin when he talks about Vince Russo, who continues to shit on our profession, meaning the world of pro wrestling. He's a flaming asshole. I'm not saying this, Russo. We follow each other on social media. You've always been good to me. I'm just going by what Cornette says. And I have no involvement with Vince Russo. I'm boycotting anything he's involved with, and I would suggest you do the same. You don't have to push your opinion on us, Corny. Everybody's allowed to do what they want, live how they want, say whatever they want. Just don't push it on me, man, and don't jump at me when I want to say something. It's not a two-way street, double-edged sword here. It works both ways. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I just wanted to update you on this date on how long Cornette, Russo, Bischoff, Meltzer, triangle's been going on. It's highly entertaining stuff. I listen to Cornette constantly. I listen to Dutch Mantel constantly. Those are my go-to podcasts. And then, of course, for current day updated product, it's JD and Off the Script with his co-hosts Andrew Baydala and Chi-Town Smart Jesse. And, of course, the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. It doesn't get much better than that as far as OGs. Updated and newer guys. I love listening to the Wrestling Council, Cheap Heat Productions with Jack Kilby and Morris, the Mario Mancini show, and, of course, the Hey Roma podcast with Paul Roma and Mario Mancini. I'll be sitting in this week. There's many other shows out there that I follow and that I love. Pro Wrestling Wire, the former Pro Wrestling Zone podcast. I mean, the list goes on and on to the people that I try to connect with and listen to their stuff, from Good Mike Works to the Solid Monster. I give everybody a chance, to Dr. Evil, to everyone that you can think of, the Andrew Zarian, the occasional Alvarez. You got to take everybody's different viewpoints and perspectives and not be closed-minded or narrow-minded with tunnel vision, and then come up with your own discernment. I say that all the time. Use your own discernment, spiritually and anything else in life and what's going on. And I put that out there as a real part of this show. Let's move on here as we're coming up on an hour. I enjoy doing these longer shows. I don't want a part one or part two. I hope you stayed here for the whole show, because you're missing out on some incredible facts. April 11th, 2003. We're going to go forward and go back and back to go forward. In the magazines. An unbelievable era in the 70s and 80s of the magazines. I'll never forget those eras. It taught me a lot about pro wrestling, kayfabe or not. April 11th, 2003. Publisher of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Inside Wrestling, and The Wrestler, among many others, Stanley Weston, the legend, passed away. Weston passed in 2002 after battling cancer. He created the Stanley Weston Editors Award, recognizing the lifetime achievement in the sport. The very first recipient of that Lifetime Achievement Award was the one and only living legend, Bruno Sammartino, back in 1981. And this year's recipients in 2024, as Stanley Weston in the magazines live on forever, the Lifetime Achievement Award is something to be proud of and special. And this year's recipients, Sting and Nancy Benoit. So let that sink in as we're at 1 hour And you could see that bitch is always giving me problems, right? Should I deal with her now? Should I get some mood music back? Because I have heat with Alexa. Play tropical thunderstorm sounds. She's ignoring me. Do you see what I go through here on Chaos Corner? Right? Talk about heat. I know you're listening. I got a battle with you here live. Wait till I get off air, Alexa. I'm going to unplug you. Let me be a little nicer. Bear with me. We're almost done. Alexa, play tropical thunderstorm sounds. See how it works? You catch more flies or bees with honey than you do vinegar. Isn't that the saying? Let's continue here on Chaos Corner. Today, this date in pro wrestling history, April 11th. Rest in peace, Stanley Weston, and what he did for PWI, the magazine era, for us, the fans. And then, of course, the Editor's Award recognizing the lifetime achievement in our sport, which it is. Very impressive. We're going to go way back, and we talked about it early on here an hour ago. April 11th, 1943, 81 years ago. Talk about history. We said Harley Race was born. And we talked about briefly the latest Dark Side of the Ring episode with the unbelievable, maniacal, true man's man. Say what you want, right, wrong, or indifferent. Harley Race, who debuted in 1960. I believe retired in 1990, and I'm not sure, because I also researched that his last official bout was in 1993 against Ric Flair. We know that in 1973, he won his first NWA Heavyweight Championship from Dory Funk Jr. He went on to hold the real World Heavyweight title 8 times. And remember in 1978, when he cleanly body slammed the 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, long before the WWF made you believe that it was just Hogan who slammed Andre. And there was many before that, if you know your research. And I know that you do. But Harley Race was really incredible. He had a wrestling school, and I told you about our brief history, all the way up until 2019 in Missouri, where, again, I tried to get booked, and the conversations that I had on the phone with Harley were priceless. And I say it all the time about the conversations I've had with people in this industry on the phone, week after week, pestering and annoying them and promoting myself. And this is the early and middle 90s, trying to get promoted and get pushed out there, trying to get booked, whether it be Harley Race when he was in Missouri, Dusty Rhodes when he was running Turnbuckle, Leah Maivia when she was doing Polynesian Pacific Championship Wrestling, Jim Ross, J.J. Dillon, Terry Taylor. The list goes on and on. Randy Hales, Jim Kettner, Tony Rumble, all the different guys, Dennis Corluzzo, Mikey and Fred Sparta, Mike O'Brien, Tom Jeanette, all the Steve and Larry Glagorovic, Dale Gagne. The list goes on, and there's many, many, many others, from Jason Knight to Nick Richards, to many other folks and companies and people that I was honored and pleasured to work for. I'd be sitting here for days and days to go back and the promotions and who I bugged and who I got booked for and who I promoted and who I sent out my promo tapes to, especially in the early 90s. You know, I made my debut in 1991, was studying in 88, 89, originally went to school in 1984, and here we are in 2024. Very interesting things here, and I wanted to relay that about Harley Race instead of just mentioning that today was his birthday and recently seen Dark Side of the Ring and so on and so forth. We're going to go on here because we're not done yet as I roll on here. April 11th, 1987, the second day of the Crockett Cup, held in Baltimore, Maryland. In the tournament final, the Superpowers, Dusty Rhodes and Nikita Koloff, beat Lex Luger and Tully Blanchard for the Cup. And this was what made me think about this. You wonder, and I want your opinion at 1 hour and 5 minutes in here, mega powers of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, or the superpowers of Dusty Rhodes and Nikita Koloff? Give me your opinion. Who would you take? Hogan and Macho Man? Remember, 1987, or Rhodes and Koloff? I was pondering that while I was doing my notes here. Now, Dusty and Nikita had to beat in that night for the Crockett Cup on night 2, 1987, Baltimore, Maryland. Rhodes and Koloff beat the Midnight Express, Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude, and Bill Dundee and the Barbarian, all in one night. Now, Luger and Tully had no easier road. They had to beat Bob and Brad Armstrong, the Giant Baba and Takagi, and the Mod Squad. I'd have to say Rhodes and Koloff had the tougher road. But that's 4 bouts, tag team matches in one night. Very rarely does that happen in 2024. 13,000 fans, over 13,000 fans, showed up to watch Magnum TA appear at the event for the Superpowers, to be in their corner and to support the Superpowers. We know how close TA and Dusty were, and that unbelievable best of 7 between Koloff and Magnum TA for the U.S. title back in the day. Unbelievable! And an emotional moment when Magnum comes walking in after being severely injured in that automobile accident, which I believe was, if we're in April of 1987, I believe happened in October of 86. If I'm not mistaken, that horrible accident that ended TA's career. He's still doing great and doing well to this day, Magnum. What a time to be alive. At that time in the wrestling career of the NWA, Jim Crockett, WWF, AWA, World Class Championship Wrestling, Memphis, the territories, everything, I was merely 24, 25 years old. Most of you weren't even a gleam in your daddy's eyes in this today's IWC. So appreciate me when I'm around, when I'm moderating, I'm there. I'm not asking for it. I'm not saying I deserve it, but I fucking earned it. Remember that. If you don't got nothing nice to say, say nothing, but listen to what I'm saying to you and what I review to you. I lived it. I was there. I experienced it. We don't bullshit on this channel as I get a little more serious here. Also on that same show in 1987 for the second day of the Crockett Cup, NWA World Champion Ric Flair pinned Barry Windham. And we just saw in the class of 2024, Barry Windham with Mike Rotunda, the U.S. Express, just inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame on the weekend of WrestleMania 40. Let's go forward to go back and back to go forward. April 11th, 2021. During the pandemic, the scandemic. WrestleMania 37, Night 2 from Tampa, Florida. Randy Orton beat The Fiend. Rest in peace, Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt. The Fiend had been burnt alive by Orton, but miraculously recovered, if you remember the story. This would be the end of The Fiend, who was distracted by Alexa Bliss, and Orton RKO'd Wyatt for the W, or The Fiend. And not to mention that Bill Goldberg, I think, buried The Fiend over in Saudi Arabia not that long ago. And since then, the tragic passing of Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. What a talent, rest in peace, what a man, from what I understand. On that same card, here's the results. Here's the card. Roman Reigns defeated Edge and Daniel Bryan to retain the Universal title. Now let this sink in. It's 3 years ago, 2021. Reigns, who just lost the championship this past weekend to Cody at WrestleMania 40. Back then, again, 3 years ago, he was competing against Adam Edge Copeland and Daniel Bryan, who are now the face, basically, of a stumbling, stuttering, rumbling, bumbling AEW in 2024. Let that marinate. Think about that. Ponder this. On that same card, Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn, who had Logan Paul in his corner, of all people. Rhea Ripley defeated Asuka to win the Raw Women's title in her first run. Sheamus defeats Matt Riddle for the United States title. And Apollo Crews defeated Big E in a Nigerian drum fight to win the Intercontinental title. Talk about, it was only 3 years ago, and how much things and times have changed. Rosters, people, injuries, life, and how much things really changed during and after the pandemic. And I'll even say over these last 2 decades. We're an hour and 10 minutes in here. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. That's about all I have. I can go on and make this an hour and a half and 2 hours. But I want to keep your attention span, because we know what happens with some of you fans that are unsubscribed. You got the attention span of a gnat, the brain of a dehydrated BB, of a turnbuckle, if you will. No offense, man. Lighten up. Kayfabe is still alive here at Chaos Corner. So much love and respect to everyone out there. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for this distraction and listening to me vent. I do this for you, and I do this for me, and I'll be back. You can guarantee that. Because I am the guardian of chaos. And I do tell it like it is. And I'll say that to say this. Don't you dare miss it.